Good Shabbos, Shabbat Shalom. My name is Rabbi Jesse Mordechai Chan. I'm sitting before you in this incredible sunrise sanctuary at Temple Beth David. And the day today, I'm looking at my watch, it's Saturday, July 18th. Where did all the time go? Saturday, July 18th, the 26th of Tammuz, 5,780. And, this Shabbat is Shabbat Mivarchim et HaChodesh. What does that mean? Mevarech, to bless the new month. And we always do that the preceding Shabbat. So on Wednesday, we're moving into Av. And I'm sure you're familiar with Av. It's a sad time. And we talk about Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av. And then we transition into Elul. So, time never stands still. And this is an interesting thing. And today we're going to have kind of a learning session about the Torah portion. It's a double Torah portion, Matot Masai. And we'll have a little bit of a service. But, the most important thing, I'm not sure we're blessed here this morning. We've got Denise Whitlock with us. We have Judy Kern. And so they're like the streaming specialists. I'm up here before you and, giving a Devar Torah, a sermon maybe. But they're really doing all the work. And they keep me informed. So one, I just want to bless you for being here with us to celebrate Shabbos and also to engage, to learn, to study. There's a blessing that we say every day. We'll say it today, so I'm not going to say it right now. But also, they go to the rabbis. Who knows? Shimon, Shimon and Reuven. Although this week we're going to talk about Shimon and Reuven. Shimon and Reuven go to the rabbis and say, Rabbi, I want to study and I don't have time. So the rabbis could say, well, when you find some time, make sure you carve out something to study. But the rabbis understand that time escapes us. Here, it's already July, almost the end of July. Time escapes us. So therefore, the rabbis say that you have to make your learning, your studying, you have to make it keva. And what does that mean, keva? That means every day on the schedule, you have to have 5 minutes. Okay, so maybe you're going to say, Rabbi Jesse, what, 5 minutes a day? What, are you crazy? I can't do 5 minutes a day. All right, Friday night, Saturday morning, something. And it has to be, where you're looking forward to it on a schedule, right? Part of the regular rotation. So here, now we're going to celebrate Shabbat together, Shacharit, this inspiration for prayer. Think about this, that we're all coming in together. And I'm sitting in this room and we have empty pews, but they're not empty. All of you are here, and this is a beautiful, large space. We enter this sacred space to voice the longings of our hearts in prayer. In sacred company, we offer love to the Holy One. We devote ourselves this morning to psalm and song, to study and prayer. May our hearts be lifted, may our thoughts be deepened, and may our souls soar like the eagles. We're so blessed again. We are a URJ affiliated congregation. We use the Mishkan Tefillah, and I think that Denise and Judy and the streaming specialists can populate that as a hyperlink, so you can go in and get the pages. Okay. So this morning our service starts on page 186 with Birchat HaShachar, having gratitude for being alive. Mode ani lefanecha melechai v'kayam. שהחזרת בי נשמתי בחמלה רבה אמונתך מודה אני לפניך מלך חי וקיים שהחזרת בי נשמתי בחמלה רבה אמונתך. We're alive. We have gratitude. I have a good friend of mine, Oad. Oad, if you're listening, I'm going to quote you on this. I was in the army, and when I was in Israel in the army, sometimes we'd go through some difficult days. And I used to have a friend of mine, Oad. I'd say, Oad, ma'olech, what's going on? Kashe, it's hard. What, ma'yeh, what's going to be? And he'd always say, kfar tov, yeh yoter tov. It's already good. It only gets better. Think about that. Internalize that. It's already good. It's good, and it's going to get better. Modeh Ani. I offer thanks to you, ever-living sovereign, that you have restored our souls in mercy. How great is your trust. And now we continue with Ma Tovu on the top of page 190. Before we go into Ma Tovu, we have to make sure we have our, I was going to call this our PPE maybe. This is our protective equipment right here. And, I see people here, in our sanctuary with PPE. It's so important to have this protective equipment. And this, I don't know if it's protective equipment, but we all have spiritual equipment. So think about that. When people say, I travel around, I was in Costco yesterday morning and I got my yarmulke, and people say, what is that? Why are you wearing your yarmulke? I don't wear a talit out. But if I did, I'm sure people would say, what are you wearing? We wear this to help us connect to the Creator. So now, traditional, we rise, we stand up, and we put on our talit. Again, the most important part of the four corners, this top part here, is called the atara. And I'm going to hold it out, and we'll say the blessings together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehitatef batzitzit. Amen. And now we have the talit on, and we are ready to pray with Ma Tovu, top of 192. Ma Tovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael. Ma Tovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael. On page 193, what does this Ma Tovu mean? We sing it, we say it, and the Rebbitzin, thank God she's doing very well, has a beautiful voice. I miss her. Usually she sits here and she sings like an angel. But what do the words mean? And if you go, you can look at all type of talented people with tambourines and guitars and singing songs. But again, what do the words mean? May the one whose spirit is with us in every righteous deed be with all of us who work for the good of humanity, and we bear the burdens of others. And how do we do that? What does that mean to bear the burdens of others? We give bread to the hungry, we clothe the naked, we take the friendless into our homes. May our work and our hands endure, and may the seed that we sow bring abundant harvest. On page 196, this top little verse here contains it's so interesting. I think it contains the entire world. The top of 196. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorahi. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorahi. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorahi. I have to stop myself because I think I could do that for the next hour. So what does this mean? Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorahi. God, my soul. Elohai neshama. God, my soul that you have given me is pure. And it's a hard thing because sometimes, I don't know about you, but sometimes I'm hard on myself. I could do better in this category. I didn't do enough here. The score that I got wasn't high enough. I need to step up and help more and do these things. We can always do more, but we also have to recognize that what we have is our souls are pure. We have to elevate the soul, but first we have to recognize God. We're holy beings. Holy beings. On page 198, we have the Nisim B'chol Yom, daily miracles. The miracle for awakening. We're alive. We're awake. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lach zechvina lavchin ben yom uvein laila. For vision. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam pokeach ivrim. For the ability to stretch. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam matir asurim. For rising to the new day. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam zokef kefufim. And now, what are you thankful for? Use the chat function. You're online. Let us know. Here, let's start with the blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. And you are thankful for? Judy, what are you thankful for?
I am thankful for being here and being connected, and I am thankful for Denise learning to be my backup, and health and family.
Amen. Being here, having help, having someone to step up, to volunteer, and family, health. And Denise, what are you thankful for?
I'm thankful for my family, and I'm thankful for purpose.
For purpose and for family. So here, what are all you thankful for? Let us know. Family, here it's such an important thing, and it's a difficult thing because right now we have this, physical distancing. But let us know. If you're typing in, use the chat function. Let us know what you're thankful for. Any typing? All right. We're thankful for Torah.
We're thankful for my family, for not hurting friends, for not hurting and friends.
Oh, thank God for not hurting for friends. And let people know, that we're all friends here. And I hope that we all need to connect. On page 204, let us say this blessing together. And this is really, every day we should say this blessing. To be busy with words of Torah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to engage with words of Torah. So we're engaged with words of Torah. And what does that mean to be engaged with words of Torah? Well, we have all kinds of songs, and here I'm reading this book. I'm turning the pages of the book. The Torah, this is a hard thing that I'll share with you. The Torah doesn't live behind me in the Aron HaKodesh. Doesn't live there. You might think it lives there. You might say, Rabbi, what are you Meshuggah? You crazy? That's the Torah scrolls. All right, for sure. That's the 5 books of Moses. That's the Torah, the written Torah. Here, I'm holding a siddur here. Many of the verses in our davening and our prayers come from Torah. Okay? Many of the things that we're gonna say this morning come from Torah. But Torah lives in here. In here. Torah lives in your heart. Torah lives in your mind. Now we start our morning service. Again, we had the Psukei de Zimra, and now we're transitioning into Yishtabach, found on 223. Traditionally, you rise for Yishtabach. We rise in spirit. Yishtabach Shimcha Le'ad Malkeinu Ha'el HaMelech HaGadol VaKadosh B'Shamayim V'Aretz Ki Lecha Na'er Na'elenu V'Eloheinu V'Imotenu Shiru Shchva Halel V'Zimra Oz HaMemshala Netzach Gedula Gevura Tehila V'Tiferet Kedusha U'Malchut Brachot V'Adom Etaviyad Olam Baruch Atah Adonai El Melech Gadol B'Tishbachot El Adon Adonai Flaot Abocher B'Shirei Zimra Melech El Chei Olamim 224 Chatzi Kaddish Yitgadal veYitgadash Shemei Rabbah V'Yalma Divra Cherutei V'Yamlich Malchutei B'Chayechon U'V'Yomechon U'Chayei Dechol Beit Yisrael Bagala U'Bizman Kariv V'Yimeru Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mevorach Le'olam U'al Me'el Maya Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpar V'yitramam V'yitnaseh V'yitadar V'yitaleh V'yitalal Shemei Kedusha Berichu Leila Min Kol Birchata V'Shirata Tushbechata V'Nechemata Da'amiran B'Yalma V'Yimeru Amen. And now we have the Baruch Hu, this call to worship. Again, we rise in spirit, we elevate ourselves. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMivorach. Baruch Adonai HaMivorach. HaMivorach Leolam Vaed. Praise Adonai, to whom praise is due forever. Praise be Adonai, to whom praise is due now and forever. We have, I always like culture from around the world. A good friend of mine, we're always talking about different shows. If you have a good Netflix show, let me know. I enjoy Netflix and Amazon and these things. It's nice to watch some good shows. And so in some cultures, they have a bow. And I'm curious, the only time I find myself bowing is really here in a sanctuary, or when I'm davening outside the sanctuary, when I'm praying. We have in the Amidah, right, this bowing movement, this also in the Baruch Hu. So I'm curious, and sometimes it's like second nature. I say rise, I'm sitting in a chair and I still find myself bowing. What does that mean to you, to bow? Why do we bow? Think about that, the Baruch Hu, this call to worship. Again, traditionally, we face the Aron HaKodesh and we bow. We put our feet together. Why do you think we do these things? So now we have, on page 232, we've brought in God's presence. We've opened the door and say, God, be with us. Let us recite the Shema together on page 232. Traditionally, people cover their eyes, and we focus on each and every word of the Shema, and then a hushed undertone, the Baruch Shem. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. On page 234, we have the V'ahavta, and you shall love. What does that mean, to love? Let us go through the V'ahavta and understand what God is trying to teach us. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavacha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'beitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech Ushachbecha uvkumecha ukshartam liot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot beineinecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha. Page 236, the top. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe lemor daber el bnei Yisrael v'amarta alehem v'asu lahem tzitzit al kanfei bigdehem ladorotam v'natnu al tzitzit hakanaf patil techelet v'haya lechem letzitzit uritem otos chartem et kol mitzvot Adonai v'asitem otam v'lo taturu acharei levavchem v'acharei nechem asher atem zonim achareihem leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'item kadoshim lelohechem Ani Adonai Elohechem Asher Hotzeti Etchem Me'eretz Mitzrayim Liot Lachem Lelohim Ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem Emet. Adonai Elohechem Emet. Think about this, that God is our God in truth. We live in such a world where, we want truth. But just because you have truth doesn't mean someone else is wrong. Think about that. I always share this story that I was blessed to learn with a special rabbi for quite some time, and this person brought in multiple books multiple with different origin stories and conflicting opinions in the books. This author said, I agree with this author. This author shouldn't have published a book. And so this person brings in these 4 or 5 books to the rabbi and says, Rabbi, I have these 4 or 5 books. Which one is right? What book is right? And the rabbi says, all of them. All the books are right. And that can't be. Why not? So think about that. God is our God in truth. That doesn't mean that anyone else is wrong. Our God is God in truth. Page 240, Mi Chamocha. Mi Chamocha Ba'elim Adonai. Mi Kamocha Neda Ba'kodesh. Nora Teilot Osei Fele. שירה חדשה, שיבחו גאולים, לשמך על צבאת הים, יחד כולם הודו וימליכו ויאמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, צור ישראל, קומה בעזרת ישראל, עובדי חנומך, יהודה וישראל, גואלנו, אדוני צבאות שמו, Kedosh Yisrael, Baruch Atah Adonai, Gal Yisrael. On page 242, now we have the Amidah, this standing prayer. And so let us, again, many times you'll people stand, they put the atara, the talit over their head. In Rabbinic Judaism, we talk about having, actually, here you might say, well, I have a problem with one head covering. And in the Shulchan Aruch, this code of Jewish law, it actually talks about having 2 head coverings. 2 head coverings. So that's why sometimes in the Jewish community, I don't know if you see it, but I'm sure you have before, maybe people wear hats. Have you ever seen that? In traditional Jewish communities, people wear hats. Well, that's the second head covering. They still wear, you might say, do you have a yarmulke underneath the hat? They still have a yarmulke underneath the hat. And then when we get to this Amidah, we have also this second head covering. So what is utilized as the second head covering? The talit. Have you ever seen people that have the talit like this? That's the second head covering. So that is why. So now let us get ready for the Amidah, this standing prayer where we talk about God's love. Not only God's love, that what we request of God, what we desire from God, God's promise to us. Adonai sifatai titach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. 244. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, v'Konei Hakol, v'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, Umevi Gula Livnei V'Nehem, Leman Shemo B'Yahava, Melech Ozer U'Mashiach U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, V'Ezrat Sarah. 246. Atah Gibor Leolam Adonai, Mechaye Kol Atah Rav Lahoshia, Morid Hatal, Mechalkel Chayim Bechesed, Mechaye Hakol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Verofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Kayem Emunato, Lishene Afar, Micha Mocha Ba'al Gevurot, Umido Melach, Melech Memit, Chaye, Matzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman Atah L'chayot HaKol, Baruch Atah Adonai, Mechaye HaKol. 248. Nekadesh et Shemcha ba'olam, Keshem shemagdishim oto b'shmei ma'arom, Kakatuv al yad neviecha, V'kara ze el ze v'yamar, Kadosh, 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 Adonai tzvaot, melech kol haaretz kevodo. Adir adirenu Adonai, Adonenu ma'adir shimcha bechol haaretz. Baruch kavod Adonai mimkomo. Echad hu Eloheinu, hu Avinu, hu Malkeinu, hu Moshienu, v'hu Yashmenu b'rachamav li'enei kol chai. Ani Adonai Elohechem, yimloch Adonai leolam, Elohai Tzion, ledor vador, hallelujah. ledor vador nagid gadlecha, lenetach netachim kedushach nagdish, v'shivcha aleinu mipinu lo yamush leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh. On 250, for Shabbat, you have to have Vishamru. I used to be a teacher in Philadelphia, and that was like the gateway, the gatekeeper, if you will. I was tutoring students, and we'd always go over Vishamru. You got to know Vishamru. It's such a beautiful prayer, and let's do it. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. And now we're going to prepare for the Torah service. And when we think about this, I just want to share with you, because it's not easy to do the Torah, and we're going to talk about the Torah before we bring the Torah out, because I've got to hold the Torah here. And it feels great when you hold the Torah. If you have access to kiss the Torah, to hold the Torah, it's such a special thing. The Torah is what connects us. You can go to different synagogues, temples, B'tei Midrashim, any kind of yeshiva, any like a shtibel. I'm using synonyms for kind of the same thing, okay? Wherever you go, wherever you're holding, anywhere around the world, to any Jewish community. And for sure, there's going to be differences. There's going to be differences, but I can tell you what is not going to be different. What is not going to be different is the Sefer Torah. It is going to be the same Sefer Torah in every community, okay? So this week we have a double Torah portion. And and not only was double Torah portion, we're in the desert. We're at the end. We're going to go into the fifth book. This is it, the last of the two sections we read in the book of Numbers. And then we transition into Deuteronomy. I'm sure you're familiar with, after we read the Torah, what do we say? Chazak, chazak, v'nitchazek. Be strong, and we will be strengthened. So now let's talk about, what does that mean to be strong? And we're in Parshat Matot. We have Matot and Masai. And Matot are, speaking to the heads of the tribes. And that's the first thing, is that, just to share with you briefly, it says here, I'm reading from, chapter, the tribes of Israel, and Matot, verse 2. Moses spoke to the Israelite leaders, saying, this is what Adonai has commanded. Okay? If someone makes a promise to God, to Adonai, or promises to do something, you must not break the promise. You must do exactly as was promised. And this is a difficult thing. Think about that. That when you promise to do something, that speech is so powerful, it's so important. And, we have to come through. And, we say we're strong. And sometimes when you're strong, here we know that we fought against the Midianites. We fought against the Moabites, all of these ancient tribes. I wish we could have had peace and gotten along. That's not the case in the book. And so think about that when you go into war, and I'm going to talk about that. And God forbid war should never happen, but it does happen. And here in the fourth aliyah, it talks about dividing captured property. And I just want to share something. I think it's important to share with everyone. Verse 25, Adonai spoke to Moses saying, you and Eleazar the priest and the tribal leaders must count all the captives and all the animals. Divide everything into 2 equal parts. This is important. Here, the soldiers, who goes into battle? The soldiers go into battle. Now, you might think to yourself, for sure, Rabbi, of course, that's pshita. It's simple. What are you saying? The soldiers go into battle. For sure. So the soldiers, though, in the biblical time period, or how the rabbis understand the soldiers, were the people that were the most gentle, the most learned, the most holy people would go into battle. And when the battle was completed, they would take, the I don't want to call, the spoils, and they would divide them up. Okay, divide everything into 2 equal parts, giving half to the soldiers who went into battle and half to the community. So think about that. Sometimes, to give half. I'd spoken about this before, and in Pirkei Avot, we have different types of people. And there's a type of individual that says, sheli, sheli, shalcha, shalcha. What is mine, and what is yours. But here, think about that. The soldiers go into battle. What could they have said? And derech hagav, just so you know, which means that, just so you know, that the person that says, what's mine is mine and what's yours is yours, is not the person that we want to emulate. The soldiers go into battle, and they have the spoils. They've conquered whoever and wherever they've been, and they take the spoils back, and they divide them into 2 parts. And they say half is for those that engaged in battle, that went to war, and half, and they're equal parts, half are for those people that stayed behind. What do you think about that? What do you think about that? So it's important that we talk about that. I mean, here in the Bible, there are so many things in the Bible that we don't want to discuss because it's hard to discuss. But just because it's hard, that doesn't mean you don't discuss it. And then I wanted to discuss with you also in Masai. So Masai means the wilderness, the travels, like a masa. Modern Hebrew word is like a hike, And so all of these places that we traveled for 40 years, we stopped here. It was good for us. We stopped here. It was terrible. We were attacked. Here, this person was born. This person died. All of these things are recorded. Okay, they are recorded. And we're traveling around for a long time, and things happen. So this is the city. We're going to talk about a special city. It's the 6th aliyah of Masai. Okay, and I'm sure you've heard of this before. In Hebrew, it's called the Harei Hamiklat, or Ir Hamiklat, the city or the cities of refuge. Have you heard about the cities of refuge? So Adonai spoke to Moses and told him, speak to the Israelites and say to them, now that you are crossing the Jordan into the land of Canaan, you must designate towns which shall serve as safe refuge cities where a murderer who has accidentally killed a person can find safe refuge. These cities shall serve you as a safe refuge from an avenger. A murderer must not be judged until they've had fair trial before court. You shall provide 6 safe refuge cities. You shall provide 3 safe cities on this side of the Jordan, and 3 safe cities in the land of Canaan. These cities shall be safe havens for both foreigners and Israelites, so that anyone who accidentally kills a person will find safety there. However, if someone deliberately strikes another person with an iron weapon and kills him, then he is a murderer and he must be executed. Now, again, I just want to share with you that what I'm reading is a literal. I mean, here, this is the text. So we as Jewish people don't understand this text as a literal interpretation. I'm reading it because A, it's the Torah, and B, I hope to engage you. All those people that are here, davening with us and praying with us. So if you have questions about the cities of refuge, making promises, and then also the daughters. We had spoken about this last week. maybe last week. The daughters. Remember I spoke to you about these daughters of Zelophehad that didn't have an ancestral piece of land. They went to Moses and said, Moses, this is ridiculous. This is really ridiculous that you're saying that, because our father didn't have sons, therefore we don't get land. So the 5 daughters marry. Zelophehad's daughters did exactly as Adonai had commanded to Moses. Machla, Tirza, Hagla, Milcah, and Noah, the 5 daughters of Zelophehad, married their cousins. They married into the families of Manasseh, son of Joseph, and their hereditary land remained with their family. So here it's told, because earlier in the Torah portion, you might say, sometimes I'm sure you've heard that before, where someone might say, yeah, we'll do that. And then what happens? There's no follow through. Right? Does that ever happen to anyone? People say, I promise I'm going to do something. And then what happens? At the 25th hour, you're all of a sudden searching for someone to help. So the Bible knows that. The Torah says earlier, Moses went to Adonai and says, hey, Adonai, help me out. These girls, the daughters of Zelophehad, have a concern. And they're coming to me because they say this has to change. So their father didn't have daughters. Here I have 3 daughters, and so God says, Moses, you got to change it. Now Moses is not perfect. We know. I read you, but he struck the rock. So here in this week's Torah portion, on the end of the maftir, it says, don't worry, okay, that the 5 daughters married, and that's not what's important. What's important is that the land stays within their family. The land stays within their family. So again, if you have any questions, now the next week we're going to move into the final book of the Torah, Deuteronomy. That's it. So Bereshit, Shemot, Vayikra, Bamidbar, Devarim. 5 books. 5 books that contain the blueprint of life. So on page 362, we have our Torah service. If you have questions about the Parshiot, Jeremiah is the Haftorah. I did a Devar Torah last night about that. Tune in or always contact me. My information is always available and I am accessible. Page 362. When the ark is open, please rise in spirit. Ein kamocha v'Elohim Adonai v'ein kema'asecha malchutecha malchut kol amim umemshaltecha b'chol dor v'dor Adonai melech Adonai malach, Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed, Adonai oz le'amo yiten, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom, av harachamim, heitiv avirtzoncha et Zion, tivne chomot Yerushalayim, ki vecha levad batachnu, Melech el Ram Vanisa Adon Olamim. Page 364, top. Ki mitzion teitze Torah. Ki mitzion teitze Torah. Udevar Adonai Mirushalayim. For from out of Zion will come the Torah and the word of Adonai from Jerusalem. Top of 366. Baruch Shenatan Torah Le'amo Yisrael Bigdushato Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo, Gadlul Adonai Yiti, Unramama Shemo Yachdav, Lecha Adonai Hagedula, V'hagivura, V'hatiferet, V'hanetzach, V'hahod, Kicho b'shamayim uva'aretz, Kicho b'shamayim uva'aretz, Lecha Adonai hamamlecha, v'ami naseh lechol lerosh. We have our Holy Torah with us. And that is really the most powerful thing we have. We have here also in our Sunrise Sanctuary. We have a Torah that survived the Holocaust from Czechoslovakia. One of the Torah project. A numbered Torah that was rescued, that survived, and it's such a beautiful thing. If you've never seen the Torah, let us know. You have to open it up, and we can show you what's inside the Torah. And we did a whole class not long ago all about the Torah. But on page 371, now we have our Misha Berach for healing. And what does this mean? A Misha Berach is healing for the mind, for the body, for the soul. So many people are in need of healing. Our president last night and our Chazan was saying there's like 70,000 people I think that have died, or millions of people that are ill. I mean, in this country, around the world. I mean, it's I don't even know the numbers. But please use the chat function. Let us know if, for those that are in need of a prayer of healing, let us recite their names.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg,
Irma Schiller, Amy Bombaderi, Peggy Sherman,
Sherry Finkelstein,
So, all those, and here even with Ruth Bader Ginsburg, as I think, God forbid, but her cancer, I think, is returned, and so many people, so many ill people. Hospitals are full, and we have to pray for all of those people. And prayer is so important. And also, if we can do call them and send them letters, let them know that we're praying for them.
Martine Rudolph,
Page 371, the Misha Berach. Misha Berach Avotenu Mikor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misha Berach Imotenu Mikor HaBracha Leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Gary Yax, D. Yax, Callie Hills,
On page 374, we put our Holy Torah away, but please continue to type in names of loved ones that are in need of a Misha Berach. All of those, may they be blessed with a refuah shlema, a speedy recovery. When the Torah rises, please rise in body and spirit. Page 374. Yehalelu et Shem Adonai, ki nizgav shemo levado, hodo al eretz v'shamayim, vayarem keren liamo, tehila lechol chasidav, lifnei Yisrael am kerovo. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Ki lekach tov natati lachem torati al tazovu, eitz chaim hi lemachazikim ba v'tomcheha meushar derachei darchei noam bechol netivoteha. Shalom, Hashivenu Adonai, Elecha v'nashuva, Chadesh Yameinu kekedem. Now I'll close the parochet. Please be seated. And on page 586, we have this beautiful prayer, Aleinu. Page 586, the second paragraph. We are going into the land, into the promised land. And Aleinu gives us strength. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, latet gedula liotze breshit, shelo asanu kegoye haratzot, velo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, vegoralenu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, umishtachavim umodim, lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Page 588, top. Shehu notesh shamayim ve'yosed haaretz u'moshav yikarom b'shamayim nima'al u'shchinatu zo b'gavhei meromim hu Eloheinu ein od emet malkeinu efezulato kakatu b'torato ve'yadata yom v'hashevota elevavecha Ki Adonai hua Elohim b'shamayim mima'al v'al haaretz mitachat ein od. Page 591. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad Ushemo echad. Please be seated. Thus it has been said, Adonai will be sovereign over all the earth. On that day, Adonai will be one, and God's name will be one. And now we transition, we think about how we memorialize all of those individuals. And also we've lost, here, this morning I read that John Lewis, right? John Lewis died. I don't know if he was, maybe he was ill, I'm not sure. Because he was young. He had cancer, but he was relatively young. Pancreatic cancer. And, it's such a terrible thing to lose people. And so many people have such an impact. And thinking about his life, the impact he had. The impact, the incredible things that he did for freedom, for people to be able, for freedom of expression, for equality, and so think about that. That life for sure. The physicality of life is here, and we have to appreciate that every moment. But when people die, what is the legacy? What if you're writing? If you're writing your book, what does your book say? Books are eternal. Here, the Torah, the scroll, they live on. So what does it say? All those people that are no longer with us, how do we remember them? Well, here in our Jewish faith tradition, we remember them with the mourner's Kaddish, with the Kaddish Yatom. If someone has been taken from you, if you're in 7 days of mourning or 30 days in mourning, or in their first year of mourning, or you're commemorating a yortzeit to tell stories. Let us know the name to honor this person. So I invite you now to use the chat function and to let us know who has impacted in you in your life that we remember, and they're gone.
Chuck Davidson, John Harrison, C.T. Vivian.
In our holy congregation, and here you can't see because the camera's pointing this way and pointing to the holy ark, but here we have boards with lights on them, and these boards are called like Zecher Nishamot, to remember the souls. And at the Yortzeit, when someone died, the commemoration of their passing, we put the lights on, and we say the names. And here in our holy congregation, let us remember Mickey McKinney, Dr. Norman Freed, Pedro Martinez, Helen Brudner, Gary Peck, Norman Laycock, Elizabeth Green, Samuel Green, Yetta Harris, George Levitt, George Michelson, Patricia Tennant, Harriet Greenhut, Judy Stern, Louis Sachs, Beatrice Sherkus, Jerry Shirkus, Helene Glickman, Rose Hoffman, Andrew Martin Paykoff, Bess Fine, Jean Monteleone, Solomon Horowitz, Beverly Moskowitz, Mimi Weiner, Francis Rodriguez, Don Friedis, Jean Greenbaum, Max David Goldberg, Marissa Nicholsberg, Helen Berner Eisenberg, David Tannenbaum. And we say to all these, Zichronam livracha, may their memories forever be a blessing. Let us remember them. Let us memorialize them.
Michael Roach, Joseph Dennis Jolin,
And Clara Esther Schinder. And now we rise in solidarity with all those that are in mourning, and let us recite the mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, b'agala u'bizman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yithaleh v'yithalal shemei d'kudsha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran ba'alma v'imru Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. And now we think, it's we always, happy or excited. We think about God, and it's a hard thing to talk about God. One of the commandments is, we can't depict any kind of image of God. So we think about that. Who is God? What is God? On 626, I think this is such a beautiful hymn of glory, all about God. It doesn't tell us much, because that's what, God, it's everything. That God is everything. Let us sing together, Ein Keloheinu. Ein Keloheinu, Ein Kadonenu, Ein Kemalkeinu, Ein Kemoshienu, Mi Cheloheinu, Mi Chadonenu, Mi Chemalkeinu, Mi Chemoshienu, Nodel Eloheinu, Nodel Adonenu, Nodel Emalkeinu, Nodel Emoshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu. God, you are our God. You are the eternal one. You are ruler and you are redeemer. Good Shabbos, Shabbat Shalom. And do we have announcements? This evening, we have Havdalah, the separation service, around 9:25, maybe 9:30. I have to check my Shabbat app. But I want to wish all of you blessings. I hope you enjoyed the service. And tell your friends about the service, and also engage. And if you don't feel comfortable for whatever reason, you don't want to use the chat function Shabbos morning, Saturday morning, you can send me an email or a text message. All my information's on the website, tbdga.org, because we have to engage with things, with difficult things, not easy things. We have to open our eyes. We have to remove the veil, if you will, to be present in society and to love more, be more kind, and to be more present. I wish all of us blessings. Good Shabbos, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat.